My name is Geoff Franklin. I was born 3rd of January 1947 and lived in Wick Road, Hackney, up to the time I got married. Can't remember any problems being in the East End, no problems walking around, everyone was quite happy. We lived upstairs at doctor's surgery. My father worked as a furrier, he was a cutter, and it wasn't until I got to about 12 or 13 that my mother went to work in a chemist. My grandparents on my mother's side came from the Ukraine, and on my father's side my grandmother was born in the UK, but my grandfather came from Poland and he passed away he went to war in the 14-18 war and he died in the flu afterwards. So so my grandmother I was quite close to as a child, yeah, and my mum's parents as well. That's a good question. Because my mum went to Brady. She always spoke about it for years, and I think it's one of the first Jewish clubs in the East End, if I remember correctly. I never thought about going to any other club because, again, my mum went there. I don't remember my dad ever recalling that he went to a club in the East End, and they wouldn't let me go to a club till after I was mitzvahed at 13. And my aunt knew somebody to do with Brady, I can't remember who, and I got in there quite quickly. And the day that I joined was the day that the girls amalgamated with the boys' club. When I joined, Yogi Mayer was the person in charge there, and I met him and I was told that I had to attend an activity in the evening. You don't want to find me walking around on the stairs or anything else, so I went to the snooker hall and I couldn't get in there because all the people in there were a lot older than me and they sort of threw me out very quickly, I remember. And I went to woodworking and I decided to join the photography group that was there on a Tuesday and Thursday evening, which I got into. I used to mess around with my dad's camera. He had an old box Brownie camera and I used to try and take some photographs with that. And so I joined that club with Mr. Belchamber, who we used to call Mr. B, was in charge at the time. And I stayed there, and I stayed on that activity till I left. In fact, he recommended me to take his position over when he left the club. I can't remember how old I was. I might have been about 18, I think I was. And so I ran it for a few years until I got married, yeah. We used to, under Mr. Belchamber, we used to mainly do printing. We used to go in there with negatives that might have been from their parents' camera because none of us could really afford a camera at that time. And we used to print, and there were 4 enlargers there, if I remember. And depending on the size of the print, you just paid a few pence for the print that went in a kitty towards some more chemicals, etc., etc. Yeah. And he used to take us out on group nights where we used to do some portraiture. In fact, like I said to you before, that I got to know my wife-to-be by doing on a portrait session, and he used to take us out to Docklands, as it was then, for some night for photographs, and he was very good, yeah. He literally became my mentor for quite a few years, yeah, and he recommended me for a job on the Daily Mirror, and he sent up a full portfolio of mine, and I was asked if they offered me a job in Birmingham on the sports team, but unfortunately the union stepped in and said, "Oh no, you've got to start off sweeping the floors in the dark room." So that was that, and I wasn't offered a job in the dark room. So unfortunately, I didn't do that. Yeah. I think I was about 18. Yeah, he left, and I had to get checked out by the GLC, as it was then, and they offered me the job, which was a paid job, 2 nights a week. Yeah, yeah, I took it over. I think actually getting 2 awards from the Duke of Gloucester in St James's Palace in London was the highlight, because it wasn't only the awards. They took us to a boys' club evening, which had people like Jimmy Tarbuck at the time, etc., etc., doing a whole show for us. And I remember showing a couple of youngsters around, never been to London. They've come down. They were coached down from north of England, and showing them the sights in London. There used to be a social every night at the club, yeah. after about, I think it was after about 9 o'clock or 9:30, I don't remember. But as I said before, that you had to do an activity while you were there in the evening before the social. I think they might have had a band there on a Sunday or a live group, and the socials, as far as I remember, were to records. The Beatles at the time. I used to like the Animals. Jimi Hendrix was there one night and on a Sunday, but I went there with Judith, and it was so loud that we had to leave, and we went to Bloom's up the road and had a salt beef sandwich, but just couldn't stand the sound. But unfortunately, again, after taking all the photographs at Brady, I never took my camera there, so it would have been in the archives if it was Jimi Hendrix. Yeah. We did a charity walk to Skeet and stayed there overnight from Brady Club all the way to Skeet, and that was a charity walk, and we got picked up the following day. I think Julie's grandfather actually just told me, picked us up the following day, but I never really went there. No reason why. When you think back, you think, why didn't I go, you know? I think it was more like the football teams and sort of sports activities that went there more than anything as a group, yeah, and I think the girls followed the footballers. On a personal level, he knew everybody, he knew everybody's name, and if I never had a problem, but if you had a problem, he was someone you could speak to, whether it was a problem at school, whether it was a problem at home, and he was there to advise you, and that's what made the club, I think, yeah. Yeah, he was just that type of person you could talk to, and if you had a problem at home, you could talk to him about it, yeah. Thank goodness I never had any problems, personal problems at that time, but I know people that spoke to him, yeah. And he was always there for you. And there was no one there that had a problem with him as a leader. I didn't get to know Sandra or David that well, because I think they were far more connected with the sports side, just a different way of managing than what Yogi did. My most memorable experience would have been getting to know and meeting my wife-to-be. Friendship with people, yeah, which I still have the friendship with. Unfortunately, a few of them have passed away now. My best man used to go to Brady, he's passed away, and I've got a friend here where I live now that we used to be friends with, and he went to Brady, yeah. And it's funny, you go to places in the world and you meet people, and Jewish people about the same age group, and they can relate to that as well, and even other clubs in the area, but you can relate to someone that went to Brady. Do you know this one? Do you know that one? And there's usually someone that you find that you meet as a close community, yeah.